I recently went to the screening of Stephen King's It. Prior to the movie starting, there was a trailer for a new horror film titled Happy Death Day. It's about a murdered girl who is forced to repeat the same day over and over again until she can find out the identity of her killer. To me, it kind of looked like a cross between Groundhog Day, Final Destination, and your standard slasher film. While the film looked kind of interesting, what really got me to wondering was if there was such a case in paranormal literature in which a person was forced to live the same day over again. After some searching, I discovered that Fate magazine had a few such cases in their archives. I also remembered a story I heard on a 2014 episode of Coast to Coast Radio, in which a man claims that just such a thing happened to him, the time he lived the same day twice. He recalled that on that Friday he was eagerly anticipating the end of the day, as his drama class was going to meet to do their first full run-through of a play that they were going to be opening in 2 weeks. The day was crawling by. He had 3 classes. His drama class was in the 3rd period, and he remembered being anxious for the 2nd period to get over with. Eventually it did, and he scooted off to drama, happy that the play he had worked so hard on was finally going to play out in full. It was while in that class, though, he got some bad news. One of the students, Dwight, hadn't been seen by anyone in the 2nd period. In fact, nobody had seen him in school at all that day. I knew that meant we wouldn't have the run-through because he had one of the major roles. That meant we wouldn't do the run-through because it would be a major waste of our time, because he wasn't double cast. So during drama class, a very strange thing happened. The principal and the drama teacher, they didn't come in to get class going. The drama teacher and the principal talked quietly at the back of the auditorium, moving in and out into the hallway. Terry found it odd that the drama teacher had left without ordering them to do some work, as he would often become angry when he caught students not being productive with their time. Clearly, whatever he and the principal were talking about, it was very important. We sat there and we kind of had a free period. Everybody was wondering, what's up? So I went down after school where they would be making scenery, making props, things like that. And there was a sign on the door saying, no activities, which was a real shocker because 2 weeks before the show, we're knocking ourselves out to get things done. At that point, Terry left the school and began making for home. So I walked home, and it just so happens that the South Bend Tribune happens to already be thrown up onto our porch. And I sat down, opened it up, and it said, Central High School student slain. And there was a picture of Dwight, the one that was not in period 2. And then I knew why. All this quietness and no activities. The teachers were not allowed to tell us what happened. And we were going to find out this awful thing that happened in our homes and over the news that night. According to the news report, Dwight had been murdered on Thursday. It wasn't until Friday that the local news media and the school staff got word of his death. Terry was upset because, at the time, he had been good friends with Dwight and very much looked up to him. He was one of the best people I'd ever known. I was so infuriated at God for letting this happen to this young man who was going to grow up and be a minister like his father. I tore up the stairs. I was studying Catholicism at the time, and I had a little altar, and I rushed into my bedroom and I threw all my holy items all over the floor. Terry ended up staying in his room all night, upset and angry. When he woke up in the morning, it was Saturday, or at least he thought it was. This is when his world turned upside down. All I could think was that happened Thursday. We got the news on Friday, and it's Saturday morning. I just can't believe this. I'm standing looking out the window and into the backyard. My brother comes into the room on his way to the bathroom. He was 3 years younger. He said, "What's the matter?" I just shook my head and waved, "Go away, go away." Instead of leaving, the brother continued to inquire what was wrong. He said, "What's the matter?" I said, "Just go on." "No," he said, "what's the matter?" I said, "Dwight. Dwight." He said, "What do you mean, Dwight? What about him?" I said, "Where the hell you been? He's dead." He said, "Dead why?" I said, "God, don't you read the paper?" He said, "Well, I don't know, but you better get moving. You're going to be late for school." I said, "It's Saturday morning. Dwight was killed on Thursday. It was in Friday's paper. It's Saturday morning." He said, "Terry, it's Friday morning, and you better get moving because you're going to be late for school." I couldn't believe it. I thought, I'll go check it out. As his brother wandered off to the bathroom, Terry remembered that the Chicago Tribune was delivered every morning. I tore down those stairs and opened the Chicago Tribune, and it said, Friday morning. Then I rushed back to the den to open the paper in which his picture, Dwight's picture, would have been, and it said, Thursday. So Friday was starting all over again. When I got into school, and this is before the Twilight Zone, such things weren't being discussed openly amongst people at that time. The first 2 periods went totally different than what happened my first Friday the day before. In drama class, I asked if anyone seen Dwight. Somebody said, yeah, he was in second period. So this second Friday happened without that incident registering, and I was so relieved. I saw him in the cafeteria lunch line, and I rushed up to him and said, Dwight, you have no idea how glad I am to see you because I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if it was a dream, but yesterday you were dead. 50 years later, Terry still has no idea what happened that day. From what he could tell, he lived the same day over again, which, of course, skeptics will say is not possible. I had 2 Fridays, and it was a full Friday. I know everybody right away wants to say you just dreamt it, but it was a full Friday with every second in it. 2 Fridays in a row, one tragic, one that cleared everything up. I've heard of time slips and reality shifts, but generally they are brief, as if a veil has been lifted momentarily, allowing 2 timelines to play out simultaneously. Sometimes both timelines are aware of each other and sometimes not. Terry's case, if true, involved him living the same day twice, each with a differing outcome, very much like hitting restart on a video game, or possibly a do-over day in a simulated reality.